or whatever was uh something I wanted to talk about was this and um Draymond Green and Kevin Durant situation. And the crazy part about that is this because when for those that watched the interview the other day, my thing was this. I never thought that Draymond Green, what he said was wrong. What I kind of had an issue with was that the way he did it as far as throwing his organization up under the bus. I think he could have made his point as far as what was going on um with him and KD and that whole situation without revealing what he talked about with management and with Steve Kerr and Bob Myers. I think that was unnecessary for what um the situation called for. Because my thing is this: when you're in the wrong for something, then you're in the wrong. You don't have to throw under other people under the bus when you're in the wrong. You know what I mean? And so in that situation, I felt like that Draymond Green, for y'all that didn't watch the interview, he basically said that like what this is what kind of what happened. So after when KD and Draymond Green played together and they was playing a game against the Clippers, Draymond Green was bringing the ball up the court. KD asked for the ball. Draymond Green didn't give him the ball. KD got upset. During the timeout, they got into an argument. He called Draymond. Draymond called KD the B word, and it escalated from there as far as the media and everybody on the outside. After the game, Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, I guess, took Draymond outside or whatever it was and talked to him for an hour and 45 minutes. Draymond Green basically told them, like, y'all gonna F this up because this is basically about between me and KD got to fix this situation. Y'all need to stay out of it. Because they wanted him to come in and apologize and all that. And he was like, he wasn't with it or whatever, the cold whole 9 yards. He basically was telling them like, no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna handle it on my own time, on my own terms. So what happened was doing this interview with KD, he kind of explained to KD what him and the coaches had talked about, and he was like, basically, he was like, throwing them under the bus. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I'm not saying Draymond Green is wrong for the conversation he had and express his feelings with the coaches or the GM, because he basically told the GM like he laughed in his face. The GM was like, I wasn't expecting that and that reaction from you or whatever, because I guess he felt like he shouldn't have been suspended because it was just one of those things. It was an argument that happened among teammates that I don't really think it was warranted a suspension, to be honest with you. Teammates argue all the time and or whatever. You play with players for years and years, you're gonna argue sometimes. But that's just the nature of the game and the nature of the beast. The competitive players gonna argue. So I don't really think that was really the issue, or whatever. That shouldn't have really been the reason that he should have got suspended for that. I think what it was that Golden State was trying to appease to to KD, as far as like, oh well, if we show that we care about this situation, he'll stick around, and it kind of backfired on him. That now we know that KD was basically like he felt like that made it worse when they kind of intervened because you know Steve Kerr tried to act like it didn't happen, and KD was more on the thing of no, it did happen. We need to address this situation, not brush it up under the rug. We need to address it and talk it out or whatever. And he felt like the management messed it up by not discussing it or whatever. But my thing was, at the end of the day, I don't feel like that Draymond, more so Draymond and KD, Draymond shouldn't have said what the conversation was between him and Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, because it made them look like they was incompetent. It kind of was disrespectful towards them because it's a private conversation you having, and then it's like you flexing your muscles, saying, "Oh, it's like if you worked on any job and you go back and you tell another employee or another coworker or whatever, or you say, yeah, I cussed my boss out yesterday." And your boss catches wind to that you said that you cussed him out yesterday or whatever, whenever you did it. How you think that coach gonna feel. That coach gonna feel a certain kind of way. I mean that manager gonna feel a certain kind of way. You done cuss them out in front of everybody or whatever, or cuss them out whenever, and you tell everybody that you cussed them out. How you think that manager gonna feel? I don't care what field of line of work you in. I don't care if you in a restaurant. I don't care if you work in a warehouse. I don't care what you doing. If you disrespect your management or whatever in any case, and then you go back and brag about it to other coworkers, you liable to get fired or whatever. And that's kind of what Draymond did. Draymond cursed his management out, and nobody knew about this, but probably Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, and I think they were saying some other person was there. But the only people that knew about it. And then you go onto a national podcast, and you basically tell the world that, oh yeah, I disrespected my coach and my GM or whatever. So to me, my answer to this thing is right now is I would say trade Draymond. I would say trade him. I mean, I know a lot of people like, oh, that's an overreaction, but as if as management, and I've been in management before, you can't allow what they call the prisoners, the inmates to run the prison, and basically that's what Draymond kind of relayed to the world, that I kind of like I run this or whatever, and they don't, and he kind of felt like it was okay to do what he did, and I know it was at the first episode of his podcast, so he felt like he could do whatever he wanted and say whatever he wanted or whatever the case may be. But that's not always a good thing in these situations. So, I just felt like, it could have been handled in a different way, or whatever, and he could have said what he had to say and made the point he made without throwing his coach under the bus like that, and his GM or whatever. So, um, but it remains to be seen. I know he's been in discussions with the Ben Simmons thing at times, and other situations as far as possibly getting traded. I know the fans might not be happy about it, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to prove a point and to move forward. I think it's about time for Golden State to kind of break up the band just a slight bit anyway, or whatever. So, um, but anyway, like I said, I don't know what's going on. Trying to get this young guy on the phone. Let's see, I've been trying to see. I just talked to him. Just text him. We just text back and forth last night. So like I said, I hope everything is okay. And there's been a lot of craziness going on lately, or whatever. Um, but yeah, what? I'll get into another topic while we sitting here waiting. Like I said, hopefully I can get them on in a few minutes. Let's talk about. I want to talk about these NFL quarterbacks, these rookies that just came in: Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. Um, so basically, this is what I kind of get kind of like upset. Well, I can say upset, but um, I sometimes feel a certain way. What's up, 910? Thank you. How you doing, Sean Michael Cressman? Sean Michael Cressman. How you doing, sir? Good to have you on. Thank you for watching. But yeah, so I kind of get kind of disturbed when um basically when they have these rookie quarterbacks come in, and they expect these rookie quarterbacks to perform so early in their career. And you got to think too. Last year was such an odd year. Most of these quarterbacks really didn't get a full season here. I think Trey Lance I haven't played in almost 2 years, and so I think that we as society, we want everything to be microwave. We want everything to be a quick fix and a quick whatever and a quick this and a quick that. And I think that we do that to our young people too often too. We got 19, 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-old kids, and we expect them to come in and to be perfect or be a certain way off the top, or say be the savior of our team. Got to think now. Let's look at this for a second. Zach Wilson went to the Jets. The Jets has been dismal. They have been pathetic for the last 10 years. And you expect a young man like Zach Wilson, who came from I think what college he come from? BYU, I think it was, or whatever school he came from. So you expect this young man to come in and be the savior of the Jets? You know what I'm saying? Like the Jets have been terrible since Rex Ryan left. You know what I'm saying? So you expect him to come in and all of a sudden be this great quarterback with no offensive line, no real offensive weapons. I mean, no running game. You expect him to be great from day one? That's a lot to ask on any person. That's a lot to ask on a veteran quarterback, let alone a quarterback straight out of college that got to learn the playbook, the system, the players, the coaches, and all of that. So that takes time. It's not no 1 year. It's not every situation is not a 1 year fix. It's not a plug and play on all these situations. We so quick to want to make everything like a plug and play that we kind of lose what we got going on. You know what I'm saying? So, um, so basically, we got to do better with it. Now let's look at it. Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence pretty much has been. I would almost say. I would almost venture to say he's been the LeBron James of football the last several years. And what I mean by that is he has been on everybody's map since like the ninth grade. And that's how LeBron's career went. LeBron was on everybody's map since like the eighth or ninth grade. He was on everybody's map as far as being the next one. And so Trevor Lawrence has been in that same category for the last 3 or 4 years. It really wasn't. It was never a question once he got to like a senior year in high school when he was going to be the number one overall draft pick. It was more where he was going to go, not if he was going to go number one. From the time he walked on the Clemson's football field on campus, this man was touted as being the number one overall draft pick in the NFL draft whenever he came out. And he lived up to the billing. You know what I mean? I give him that. He lived up to the billing. You know, won a national championship, went to another one, was in the Final Four every year. I think had a record of like something ridiculous, like 30 something, 38, 39 games and 2 or 3, like only lost a couple of games, whatever his record was. Trevor Lawrence lived up to the billing. But at the end of the day, he still goes to a team in the NFL that has been terrible over the last 10 years, other than that 1 year where they made it to the playoffs and came close to, well, I ain't going to say they came close to beating. Who was it they lost to? I think they lost to the Patriots that year? That 1 year they made it to the AFC Championship game. So, I mean, they've had like one good year in like 10 of them. And we expecting, even a Trevor Lawrence to come in and be the savior of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a lot to ask on any young person, on anybody. I don't care if you put Peyton Manning over there. I don't care if you put, um, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. If a team is terrible, see, football is different from basketball. Basketball, you can kind of plug a player in. Like if they got some decent pieces, you can plug a star in, and maybe they start winning more games and be more competitive or whatever the case may be. I mean, case in point, Toronto was a good team, and then they plugged in Kawhi Leonard, and then they went on to win an NBA championship or whatever. So you can have those situations in the NBA because it's less players, so it's less people you got to rely on. So you can plug and play with some players in that situation. In this situation, when you're talking about an NFL roster, a 53-man roster, you can't just throw people in there and then expect them just to win automatically. That takes time. You got to build a rapport and a chemistry and all that other stuff that goes along, especially as an NFL quarterback. When you come to one team, like when Peyton Manning went to the Colts already had a culture. They already had a great team that just needed that quarterback to get them over the hump. So that's a situation that's different. So you can plug a Peyton Manning into a Colts team that just all they needed was a quarterback because they already had great receivers and a good running back and defense was decent. So all you had to do was plug him in. You know what I'm saying? Like if you took Aaron Rodgers right now and put him on like a Denver, or if you even put him on a Washington football team, just to let y'all know that's my team. So if you put him, so watch him out. So if you put Aaron Rodgers on Washington right now, Washington will probably win the NFC East and may even be in the NFC Championship game if you put them in Washington right now because they've built up a culture over the last couple of years. Now we've been dismal too. You know what I'm saying? We've been terrible. If you look at what we headed, and I knew when Ron Rivera got there, he was gonna make a huge difference because Ron Rivera he basically took an average roster for the most part in Carolina and took them to uh, 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 a Super Bowl, and that doesn't normally happen in NFL. Like in NBA basketball, you can take good the great players and maybe make a run and do something with that. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily you don't necessarily have see I think in NBA we've come to the realization that we have to have necessarily a big three to win. But if you have a collection of good to great players and a collection of players that come together good together, you can win. The thing about like if you watch the Golden State Warriors run, the Golden State Warriors run wasn't they didn't make that run just because Clay could shoot out and he had like parking lot range and Steph Curry had parking lot range shooting, and even when Durant got there, he's the most unstoppable player when it comes to not being able to stop him. Golden State didn't win a championship because of those three players. They won because as a collective group, Golden State was great as collectively. You know what I'm saying? Like they had great role players, Iguodala, you know, Barbosa, um, Boris Diaw. So they had real good role players around them who helped Andrew Bogut. So they had real good role players that knew their role and played their role. So that's why Golden State won a championship a lot because of the role players was what knew their role and played their role. The Bulls back in the 90s. Yeah, Michael Jordan was great. Pippen was great. Rodman was great. Even when Horace Grant was there, he was great. But the role players with the Bulls, what made them go, what made them tick because they knew their role and they played their role. It's very hard to get a team to make it have all 12 players play a role and know their role and do it for especially in a span that they did it for several years. Because normally what happens is a team will do one or two things. A team will win a championship, and the role players that's making minimal money, they'll take advantage of the opportunity and go try to get a bag somewhere else. Um, or they get lazy and I won one, so I can kind of like ease in this next year, and they kind of feel like rock stars, so they not as motivated as before. I remember hearing Charles Barkley talk about the Phoenix Suns after they just made it to the NBA Finals. They didn't even win, and then he said that role players was opening up restaurants and what I'm saying, and car dealerships, all kind of different stuff, and getting commercials and stuff, and they ain't even won nothing. You know, um, they was just part of the team or whatever. They just made it to the finals, but they ain't even won nothing yet. You had players are getting sponsorship deals and all kind of stuff on the side. So when they came back the next year, they wasn't as motivated or whatever. And some players got a better contract situation, more money, so they was feeling good about themselves. So but anyway, like so I'm just going down the line of these different players. Uh, because I don't know. Unfortunately, my guest may not come on here, but you know what? I've been doing this for some years now, y'all, so I can know how to adjust to situations like this. See, a good thing I had stuff to talk about, because sometimes things happen, and unfortunately, I don't know what happened with this young man coming on. Like I said, I just talked to him last night, or whatever. So, um, but anyway, so. But yeah, let's keep going with this. So, and then you got Justin Fields. Justin Fields went to the Jets, and Justin Fields. And I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. Justin Fields to me, I felt like for what I know, because I don't really know much about Trey Lance. I don't think a lot of people really knew what Trey Lance's situation was or how good or bad he was or whatever. Justin Fields, I watched Justin Fields over the last couple of years, and I felt like Justin Fields to me was somewhat overrated. And that's because I felt like it was too much inconsistency in his game. Now do I feel like that Justin Fields can make a difference? Yes, I do. Do I feel like he's better than uh Andy Dalton? Oh, definitely I do. Um, so um basically I think that we can ease him in. I know the Bears in a situation right now where they feel like they have to win today. The coaches, I guess the GM and the coaches then can't put this team together, and they felt like they was a quarterback away from winning, or getting to the playoffs and making some noise, and that might be all well and good, but I don't think that pressure should be put on Justin Fields to make that happen. And you got y'all done hyped the man up so much that they got the fans giving him a standing ovation when he came out on the field the first time. And I'm like, that's a lot to ask for a young man. Once again, the Bears has been an organization that has been dismal for the last 10 years. So we keep asking these young people to come in and to be a savior or something that was terrible before they got there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying he can't live up to it, but all I'm saying when I watched Justin Fields in college, it was games that he didn't play well in. So if you're not playing well in games in college, what makes you think it's just going to automatically translate from day one in the NFL? You know what I'm saying? If you watch Trevor Lawrence was great from the game one. He had great moments. Even when they lost to LSU a couple of years ago in the national championship game, Trevor Lawrence was not the reason. He had a great championship game. They just couldn't stop LSU or whatever. But you know what I mean? Deshaun Watson, when he played college, you could see it. Certain players, okay, when he get in the NFL, he gonna shine. You know what I'm saying? But Justin Fields, I don't see it yet. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't see him being a great quarterback. Now he may get to that point. Yeah, people say, oh, he had great moments. And somebody told me, oh man, he showed out in the preseason a little bit on first game. I'm like, calm down. It's the preseason. First game, matter of fact, the first game, most of your starters don't even play in the preseason in the first game. You might have a couple of starters here and there, the ones that are trying to knock a couple of rust off a little bit, but your starters don't even play game one. You almost really, when you play in the preseason game one, you almost playing against the same level of competition that you was playing in college. That's basically what you're playing against in game one of a preseason game. You're not playing against like the top of the top. And they you know what I mean? It's like playing against basically like playing against Alabama. You know what I'm saying? When you play against other players in the preseason, like they're better than of course, you got to be great to be in the NFL. That's why I say it's like playing against Alabama because you're playing against a competition that's elite, but they're not elite and maybe not be elite enough to make it to the NFL on that level. So we need to calm down with all that. I'm like, I don't even really pay attention to the preseason, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even really get all into it like that. I watch a little bit of it. I actually just watch more of my team, Washington, see what we got, see who might make the team for the most part. I may peek in on some of these young players just to see, I look at more, I don't even look at how they necessarily play as far as the numbers. I look at if they have the poise on the field, especially the quarterbacks, how they handle themselves, or they look nervous, or they in and out of their reads and getting their reads right, or they getting the team out in and out of the huddle and making a play here or there. That's what I look for because when you look at like the running backs and the wide receivers, especially the wide receivers, it's gonna take some time. Everybody was kind of a little bit on Devontae Smith yesterday because he dropped a few passes. Well, I mean, not Devontae Smith. What's the young man name? Jalen. What's the one? This the what's his name from? What's his name? Not Devontae Smith. The other young man who missed like mostly all of last year. From LSU. Oh man, I can't remember his name right now. I'm catching a brain fart. Uh, but the receiver from LSU, that was where he got picked up and he dropped like a few passes yesterday. And I just remember they getting on him. I'm like, well, the man ain't played bat football in like 2 years. So it's gonna take him a little bit to get acclimated. Of course, he might have been catching everything in practice, but everybody knows practice in the game is totally different, two different things. I don't care what level you on. When I played football when I was a kid, little well, they call it midget league football back then, but now they probably call it little league football or whatever. When I played back then, because we didn't call it Pop Warner where I was from, when you practiced and when you played in the game, it was way two different things. The speed was different, the atmosphere was different, everything was different when you played, and whether it was basketball, whether I played baseball, it was all different. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, the loss. Okay, the bald eagle. How you doing, bald eagle? That last COVID year scares me a little. Um, yeah, because what happened was it put everybody behind the eight ball. So what happened is on that last COVID year, when players weren't able to get on the field and a lot of players opted out, I think some of these players put themselves behind the eight ball. I think I understand why players opted out. I get it, but I think that at the end of the day, it's always a consequences to any decision you make, whether it's a good decision, bad decision, or if it's just a decision you had to make. There's consequences, and I think what happened was that these players that opted out, they kind of it's going to take some time to knock the rust off and to get themselves back acclimated and to get them back into what I think they took. I ain't gonna say they took for granted, but they didn't understand like what it really was. Like, okay, if I take this year off, how's it gonna affect me? And then I think a lot of times when you have people around you who's in your ear to telling you how to move, they're people that's telling you how to move or people who are not in your shoes. So you have to make a decision. Is it best for me to opt out? Now, I get it when a player opts out because he already know he's going to be a uh top lottery pick or top draft pick in the draft or whatever, and he don't want to risk getting hurt or something like that. So I get it with some of these players, but at the same time, you still see how it's affecting their game and how it's putting them behind the eight ball with this whole situation. Um, so, um, but it is what it is. So, hopefully this year we have a great season. And everything kind of get back someone back to normal. Um, but real quick, like and I'll talk about the other two quarterbacks, Trey Lance. Well, before I keep going on, let me shout out to my partners, Chris and Eric with CEV Sports. This is what made this kind of possible right here. So it's in our network, CEV Sports Network, and probably you could say in conjunction with 910 Sports, we came together and started the network. And this is my first episode of the 910 Sports Show. I was supposed to have a young man on here interviewing this morning, but unfortunately, I don't know. It looks like he's not going to make it on. But hopefully we can get on rescheduled. I apologize for that. I'm not gonna say who the young man is, other than people that knew that when I posted it up. But I'm not gonna, come down on a young man because things happen or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a miscommunication or something on our end, on my end. So I don't know exactly why uh, he couldn't make it on this morning. Like I said, I talked to him last night or texted him last night to ask him if he was ready to go, and he told me yes. So yeah, so it is what it is. But like I said, we don't stop it because of one. You learn how to move and adjust to situations or whatever. Um, so but yeah, so other than that, so yeah, so let's go keep it moving. So Trey Lance, down in the 49ers. Now, his situation is a little bit more unique than everybody else's. Trey Lance's situation is very unique because Trey Lance came into a situation with a quarterback that was somewhat already established in San Francisco. And I'm gonna tell you what Trey Lance's situation is, which would be frustrating to me as a player. Trey Lance situation is like if I was dating a girl and I'm not sure I want to commit, so I like let's have an open relationship and date other people. That's what Trey Lance's situation was in the 49ers. Trey Lance is basically in a situation where he basically getting courted by the 49ers and he the girl and they the guy or whatever. It could be vice versa. And basically they telling Trey Lance, look, you know, or they telling Billy Garoppolo, like, well, I like you, but ain't ready to commit all the way. I want to still see what's out there. So I tell you what, let's take a break and let's date other people. And so, for Garoppolo, it might actually be more unfair to Garoppolo because Garoppolo, like, well, hold on now, I got us to a Super Bowl. Yeah, I gotten hurt. So it's like almost like if you look at a relationship, it's almost like, oh, I did everything you asked me to do. I bought you a house and a car, or I've been there for you. But I had some inconsistencies because some things happened along the way and whatever, whatever. But some at times I haven't wasn't the most reliable person. But let's keep trying to work on it. We got something good here as we can see. So basically, the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo just 2 years ago. Now, this and we ain't talking about 5 years ago. You know what I mean? He done made it Super Bowl since Aaron Rodgers done made it to the Super Bowl. So we talking about 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily think Jimmy Garoppolo was necessarily the reason why they lost the Super Bowl. Like everybody wants to talk about that overthrow, but that happens all the time in the NFL. Y'all act like Jimmy Garoppolo is not the first player to overthrow a football in a Super Bowl or any level of competition of game throughout the season. That wasn't the reason why the 49ers lost Super Bowl, basically because Kansas City was really the better team. They just took them a while to show it. But Kansas City was the better team the whole time. They just took a minute to kind of get. A lot of times when you're on a big stage like that, it takes a little time for you to get going. And you could just tell that with Patrick Mahomes, I think he was pressing early. That's why he was making the mistakes he was making. But I think once he figured out, like, look, it's all balls to the wall. It's go time. He let all the noise go. He stopped listening to all the noise around him on the field and just played. And I think that's basically what really happened in that Super Bowl. But Trey Lance's situation is different from any other quarterback on this list that I talked about because Trey Lance basically is in an unfair situation. He in a situation where when he does go out there and play, they expect him to ball out. Jimmy Garoppolo can't make no mistakes. He can't sprain his ankle. You know what I'm saying? If somebody step on his ankle accidentally, he go to hobbling off the field, and Trey Lance comes in and has to finish out one game. All it's gonna take is Jimmy Garoppolo to hurt us, to sprain an ankle or go out, and he has to sit out just the rest of one game, and they're gonna replace him. Who's that? Matt. Jimmy Garoppolo, Matty. Okay. Darth Poole 79. You said Matty Ice comeback player of the year. Oh, Matty Ice cover. Oh, he could be. I mean, we about to find out what Kyle Pitts is about. He got weapons down there in Atlanta, so he could definitely be that. I mean, I don't know if about comeback player of the year because I don't really know like Matt Ryan if he didn't really have a bad year last year. Like his team been terrible, but Matt Ryan he don't really have bad years. He just his team doesn't win because overall they not consistent. Like either the defense is kind of like terrible, but I think last year Matt Ryan I think last year the Atlanta Falcons was the top scoring team in the league. Like last year, if I'm not mistaken, or they was in the top five or whatever of scoring. So I don't think Mighty Ice would necessarily be um eligible for a comeback player of the year or whatever. I may be wrong, but like I said, Matt Ryan had a real good year. I think that's why Atlanta Falcons kind of held on to him when everybody was talking about well maybe they need to get a quarterback, and it was like well it's not like Matt Ryan is washed up. It's just they defenses was terrible last year, last couple of years. Thing about Atlanta Falcons, not to get too far off the subject, but the thing about Atlanta Falcons is Atlanta Falcons been in shell shock ever since they lost the Super Bowl. Atlanta Falcons have not been able to sustain any kind of consistency, and it's like they lost the Super Bowl and lost their way. It's almost like they got jilted at the altar or something, or their girl walked out on when they was about to ask her to marry or something. Because the Atlanta Falcons just ain't, they just can't get it right. They just can't get right from life. You know what I mean? Like they just, I've never seen a team fall so hard and so fast like the Atlanta Falcons did off of losing the Super Bowl or just losing. Like, if you look at, and it's kind of crazy because you look at Virginia Cavaliers. Now this is like a tribute to young men on the opposite end. The Virginia Cavaliers was the number one team in the country all year in 2000, and I think it was 18-19. They're the first team in college basketball history one lose to a 16 seed. You know how embarrassing that is, or whatever. And so they went on to um next year to win it all. I think they won the ACC championship tournament, and they went on to win a national championship the following year. So, and pretty much with the same players. That doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of teams, a lot of players, teams, whatever, once they get embarrassed as bad as they got embarrassed, it's like they fall into a abyss and can't never get it right. Look at for y'all that may be on here that maybe remember Bucky it was Bucky something that played for the Boston Red Sox when he missed the for y'all that know anything about baseball when the ball went through his legs in the World Series. I think it was against the Mets, and they dogged the man out. And I think from then on he kind of went into a depression, and he kind of lost his way for a while or whatever because of that. And so I just think like the Atlanta Falcons, um, I don't know. Hopefully this year they can have the people. But Bill Buckner, thank you, Darth Pool 79. So I just think that you said five hole. I don't know what you mean by that, but anyway, but yeah, but yeah, I just think that it's one of those situations where the Atlanta Falcons need to get some kind of culture back and find the right coaching and management staff to get them going again. Because that's just pathetic how far they've fallen. And I lived in Atlanta for 11 years, so that's my second home. I've been to several games. I used to do security at the stadium, so I know how passionate the fans are in Atlanta. Um, and I know how much they want them to win. Um, I just knew they were going to be turned up after they beat the Patriots. But it's funny because my son is Atlanta fan. He was Atlanta Falcons fan. He done switched over like two times. He went from Carolina to Tampa Bay, but that's another story. So I just remember watching the Super Bowl, and I remember whenever the score was 28-3, and the Patriots made it 28-10. And I looked at my son. I said, "They about to come and win this game." He said, "No, they ain't, Dad. No, they ain't." I said, "Watch what I tell you. They about to win this game." Well, what you mean? They getting blown out. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. They about to win this game because somehow, whenever Tom Brady scored that first touchdown to make it 28-10, some odd reason, the whole momentum switched completely, completely. It's like he found the code to the go. Like he found who buried Jimmy Hoffa. Like I don't like like I don't. It was the craziest thing I ever seen in my life. It was the craziest thing I ever seen in my life. I've never seen nothing like that. I've never seen a game turn so fast, so quick, ever like that. Not like that, and especially not on a level like that in a Super Bowl game, like or any high level competition game like that. That is for all the marbles. I've never seen nothing like that in life, and I don't think we'll ever see something like that again. That's what really made Brady the GOAT. Like when he and I ain't gonna lie, I've been trying to fight against it, y'all. I've been trying to fight against it, but I can't. It's like, dang, every time I try to make a argument that you ain't the GOAT, you do something else. Like so I just give up. Whatever. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And you said they also lost their best player. Oh, you talking about Julio? What? Well, I don't know. because without Julio Jones, I don't know if they necessarily have to I don't necessarily know if they have to because think about a wide receiver is wide receiver is not necessarily the reason why you win championships a lot of time. Like it ain't like it was like I think people get kind of misconstrued when you seen like Dallas team, the Cowboys team in the 90s, they wasn't winning because of Michael Irvin. He was a big piece, but that wasn't why they was winning. They was winning because they was collectively great across the board. The 49ers, that was probably the one situation where you could say that the receiver dominated more than any other situation. But necessarily over the years, I mean, what situation you really could say that a team won a Super Bowl because of a wide receiver? You know what I'm saying? A wide receiver just gives that quarterback a safety net and somebody he can rely on. But I don't really necessarily think uh, um, a team wins because of a great wide receiver. Sometimes a wide receiver can be too great and then he gets in his own way, like an Antonio Brown, like a Dez Bryant or Terrell Owens, and some of these players who think they're bigger than life and bigger than the organization sometimes can be a hindrance. And I love Julio. Be honest with you, Julio is my favorite wide receiver over the last 6, 7 years. Favorite player over the last 6, 7 years. Period. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get it. Why you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they really it wasn't like they was winning on a high level. And then, like they said, they got Ridley and then they got Cal Pitts. So I'm not gonna say Julio necessarily replaceable, but he does get injured. He does miss 2 or 3 games a year. So you can always go out. And wide receivers, they come a dime a dozen. Like wide receivers, you can find a great wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like you seen this draft right here. You had 5 or 6 of them just come out this year. 5 or 6 came out last year. So wide receivers, you can get another great wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really necessarily think that Julio is gonna stop them from winning, or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you, Dog Pool 79. I just some of the antics of Brady. He said Brady's a piece of ish, but still a goat. Yeah, and I had to get past that. Like, that they basically, and I had to look at it from the same way that people look at like a LeBron when they had the LeBron Jordan debate stuff. But we get in that another time. Like that take a whole episode to just do that. So I don't even want to go there today. We're gonna talk this football stuff today. Um, and you said they was winning because the front line was powered by cocaine. Oh, that's too funny. Well, receiver gets you doing. You said, why? Our receiver gets you there during the season. They keep you in the game. Yeah, yeah. They wide receiver. They can. Um, they can't keep you in the game. I think the running game. I think we need to get back to teams having a running game because I think a lot of times that can hurt a team without having a running game. Also, um, not having a running game, your defense don't have to be uh the Baltimore Ravens D or the Steelers, the Steel Curtain or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You don't got to be on that level defense, or whatever. You don't necessarily win unless you have like an incompetent quarterback or average quarterback like a Flacco or a Trent Dilfer. Then maybe you need that. But necessarily, if you got a pretty decent quarterback that can actually win some games, because you don't want one side of the ball to have to win every game. And I think that's why these great defenses don't last more than 2, 3 years because you ask too much from them. You put too much on one side or the other. You know what I'm saying? I think and then of course it's free agency and stuff like that causes injuries and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is the wear and tear on the field part of it, when you ask one side of the ball to kind of do more than the other side, like it's almost like an 80-20 or 75-25 thing, then it puts a lot of pressure on one side or the other to always show up every single week. And I don't think that's fair to any side of the ball. Like, not to say you shouldn't do your job and you shouldn't be great, but what I'm saying is, let's just say, for instance, you for 4 or 5 weeks, you didn't give up nothing but like 10 or 13 points, or you didn't let a team score, and then that one game they put up 30, 35 on you. because I think that happened to Baltimore like one time during their run. And anything Tampa doing their run, I think they had that one game where a team like scored like a lot of points. You know what I'm saying? But then if the offense, that's those games that the offense is like, okay, now this week the offense, y'all got to do something. You know what I'm saying? And then and vice versa. If the defense is struggling and the offense is putting up 40 points a game, and then they had that 1 and 2 games where they only could put up 17 to 20 points, the defense gonna have to stand up. You know what I'm saying? And we seen that in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? Kansas City, they were so reliant on Patrick Mahomes and that offense. And, the defense was kind of suspect for a while. And it was, there was always a talk of what the defense gonna do, what the defense gonna do, or whatever. But so let me do some housekeeping real quick while we sitting here talking. Um, Ground game is overlooked by most casual fans as a football program's largest focus, or should be. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true um that it should be more of a focus or whatever. Oh, let me put this up. Okay, put that up. And so, but yeah, but and then last but not least, I want to talk about Mac Jones. Um, and Mac Jones, basically, yeah, there we go. Mac Jones in a situation where I think he's pretty much already got the job. It's just a matter when he's gonna go in, but he's already pretty much got the job. Because Mac Jones, I think his situation was it wasn't any expectation on Mac Jones, so he's the one quarterback that doesn't really have any expectation to win. And so whether he, you know, uh, performs or not is not really the situation because everybody know that Cam Newton is just a stopgap. He's just there to kind of, get them through, you know, the next, whatever, you know, few weeks. But he's not there for the long term um, success of the team. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I've never really been a Cam Newton fan. I like him as a person from what I've seen, but as a fan, as a fan of his game, I've never been a fan of it. I just never thought he really, and he might have put in the work and just never gotten better. But consistency with the way he throws the ball, I never thought Cam Newton really like improved. You know what I'm saying? Um, you said you said he was your hero without until losing the Super Bowl without grace. Um, like I said, I like Cam as a person. I like his personality, but and I understand why he does all the flashy stuff. I seen him on the interview. He has his own podcast, and those hats he wears is actually his hat line. So that's why he wears all those crazy hats because that's his hat line. And I think he has like a wine or something too. But he has his own hat line, so that's why he wears those crazy hats to the interviews. So I kind of get it. I said, oh, okay, now it makes sense now, whatever. And then Atlanta, he's from Atlanta, so like you said, Atlanta, they're very flamboyant and that can be the case. You see a lot of flamboyancy in Atlanta a lot. So like I said, so I get that part. Um, but like I said, I just never liked Cam Newton's game like that. Not to say I don't want him to succeed, but I just tell the truth of what I see. I'm from North Carolina, so most people from I know from North Carolina is a Carolina fan. Everybody like, why are you not a Carolina Panthers fan? Because when I grew up, Washington was the team. Carolina didn't exist, and I'm not going to just go to another team just because we get a team. My heart was already embedded with Washington, so I'm gonna stick with them. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going with my boys every time or whatever. We close to getting close to wrapping this up. Um, so one thing I do want to do, I want to thank for everybody for chiming in to today's show. Um, Unfortunately, our guest couldn't make it on today. I don't know what happened. Hopefully, we can reschedule here soon or whatever. Next week, I'm supposed to have on a young man, a coach out of North Carolina area. His name is Jason Jones. He's an AAU coach. I know they've won one championship. They've been to the Final Fours on several occasions in the Sand Hills area, in the North Carolina area. Been in a lot of tournaments, and he built that program up pretty fast, or whatever. And he's a great man. I went to high school with him, so I've known him most of. I've probably known him probably over 25 years. Um, but I can say he's a great young man. Well, we both old, so but anyway, but he's a great guy. Um, Ben Simmons of football. Yeah. I wouldn't put it that bad because at least Cam Newton is not afraid of the big moments. Ben Simmons, I don't know what to say about him. I was never a Ben Simmons fan, to be honest with you. Yeah, you're right. When you lose, you got to take it. But you know what? Brady's a sore loser. They said Brady wouldn't shake hands, after the other quarterback when he would lose games or whatever. So he's a sore loser too. So, but yeah, I get you. I get you on that, Dark Pool 79. But yeah, so next week, and I got, like I said, each week I'm gonna have other special guests coming on. So it won't just be me here talking y'all to death or whatever each week or whatever. I'm hoping I was as entertaining as I can be under the circumstances, or whatever. It's my first show, the 910 Sports Show. But like I say, things happen, so I don't let these type of situations slow me down or stop me from um, doing what I need to do, um, or whatever, and that's one thing. Thank you, Darpool 79. Good show on point. Thank you. Thank you for that. It means a lot, being like I said, it was my first episode or whatever to be able to do that. I'm gonna do a quick commercial, then we're gonna come back and we're gonna wrap it up.
Touchdown! 910 Sports with Icon E, the podcaster who speaks his mind. Not afraid to go against the grain. The podcast that will make you think while discussing the latest topics in the NBA, NFL, college football, basketball, and more. Giving the latest interviews and spotlighting the youth of today and tomorrow. And the coaches who put it all together while building championship programs.
Okay, so I just did that quick commercial. Once again, I want to shout out to the people that helped to make this possible, Chris and Eric with CEV Sports. Like I said, this show will be every Sunday at 9 a.m. Um, live at 9 a.m. Um, uh, Sundays at 9 a.m. So, and if if you want to come on and be a guest at any time with us, an interview, be actually get an interview, or just be a guest host. You can hit me up on my Instagram page at Icon E19. So you can hit me up there, or whatever. If you want to, uh, be a special guest or whatever on my Facebook page, Eddie Jones on Facebook, and you should see if you go there. Probably several Eddie Joneses, but you could go there and you'll see the 910 Sports logo on my page, or whatever. So you know that's me. So if you can also DM me there if you want to also be a special guest on the show at any point. Um, but other than that, next week, like and also doing starting in September, I'm doing a show called 910 Reloaded, and that's going to be through the Stereo app. If you know anything about Stereo app, that's a podcast app that I'm going to do in the middle of the week. So what it's going to be is, so during the football season, um, when we do all go through all over the games as far as like wins and losses and what to expect throughout the week, for that Sunday. Then on that Tuesday night, I'm gonna have my co-host, me and Jacob Anderson the second. He's gonna be my co-host, and we're gonna go over like what happened that week and talk about review the games that just happened, and then talk about that Thursday night game that comes up. So that'll be our focus on that 910 Sports Reloaded show that we're gonna be doing on the stereo app or whatever. Because it's hard for me to do a live show like this is kind of hard sometimes because I got so much going on. For me to sit down like this Sunday mornings is like the only time I can really do something like this and be consistent with it. So I'm hoping, like I said, next week my special guest is supposed to be Jason Jones out of North Carolina, Moore County area. So hopefully y'all chime in. But I do thank the people that came on here today to watch it because you could have been doing anything else, but you took time out your day to watch me and to listen to me and my crazy self. And I appreciate that. So until next time, it's your boy Icon.